Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, you guys. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Chad. You guys are watching Yankee Wrenching, and today we're discussing variable geometry turbos. Slightly, we're more discussing the hiss tune or rumble tune aspect of it and how this is achieved, how the tuners are able to do this, how it makes your truck sound cool. I personally love the way that the hiss tune sounds. I also love the way that the rumble tune sounds. Ford did a good job, in my opinion, with this and designing a setup that just works. They went over function first. They chose it to function well before they chose it to sound well. Here's something, a lot of guys don't know is DPF and catalytic converter hold a lot of that, good sound in. So they're basically just giant sound deadeners, and they suck up that good sound, that good noise. And when you delete these things on your race trucks, you get this awesome sound of the variable geometry, the hissing sound just kind of coming through the exhaust, and it sounds like a jet engine. And it doesn't matter whether it's Chevy, Ford, Dodge, they all, with these new variable geometry turbos, have that amazing airplane-like sound. So we're gonna jump into discussing how we get that airplane-like sound and what you can do or ask your tuner to do. If you don't like that, you can also go to what we call a rumble tune, which is more like if your truck had a fixed vane turbo. It's a good way to see what it would sound like, because that's essentially what you're doing, versus the variable geometry, and it's what really creates that sound. So let's jump into it. So as you guys saw there, that is what we would consider basically a hiss tune. If you were to take your truck, your brand new 2017, 18, 19, to me those are all brand new basically, because you can still buy them new from the dealer. But if you took your brand new truck and you pulled the DPF and catalytic converter off and you put a straight pipe on it, that sound right there is pretty close to what you would hear to a T. Now, this is because we have the variable geometry side of the turbo. It is actually adjusting the vanes on the turbo, and basically what it's doing is restricting that exhaust pressure. Instead of it being able to leave freely through the exhaust, it's basically getting forced through these small openings in the vanes and being directed right onto the turbine blade, and this really helps spool the turbo and make it efficient. So what you're actually hearing is that exactly what I just said. That air is rushing through this tight space, going onto the turbo, and it's a combination of the air rushing, giving you that hissing sound, coupled with the sound of the turbo actually spinning, giving you kind of a little bit of a spooling turbo sound. That gives you what we hear here, and you can get a little more aggressive than what I have, because this is a very stockish style tune. Actually, I think this is exactly stock, and I'm gonna go ahead and show you the table at which the truck is idling at, so you guys can see and know how much vane position we're theoretically achieving right now. Now, in order for you guys to understand this, I'm running a data log as we speak. So if you look at here, here is all the tables that I have, and we can see fuel pressures right here. We can see our torque demand, basically our actual delivered torque that the engine's producing, and then you can see here's our accelerator position. So we're obviously not on the gas at all whatsoever, but the main thing we want to look at is that right there is our delivered torque, and we can see it's around 43, 45. Goes up and down with the AC on, which I have it on. So as the compressor comes on, the load will go up, and kicks off, you can see it goes down. But what I want to show you is that number. So we're hovering around 58 to 40. Let's just say we're hovering between 60 and 40. So now I'm going to stop that, and we're going to go over to our actual table. This is the table the truck is currently using. And if we look across the top of the table here, we have our torque demand. So this is our foot-pounds of torque. And then on the side, we have engine speed and RPM. So if we come back to this table over here, we can see our RPM is at 599. Now, if I click on this, it'll obviously move around. It likes to hover between, its target is 600, and it does a darn good job of staying at 600. It's actually really impressive at how good these trucks are at doing that. So we're at 600 RPM with a 44 foot-pound torque demand. Again, we go back over to this table. So if we go over to 44 foot-pounds, it's going to be between 36 and 73. And then we have 500 and 600 RPM. So obviously, we're going to basically be at this second line down between these two tables. Technically, these four, as RPM kind of goes up and down a little bit and you can see it's between 60 and 85%. Now some of you may say, how is it 60% or how is it 85? Well, if you look at this in a number setup of fractions, essentially 1.0 being 100%, well, 0.85 would be 85%. Same goes for 0.60, that would be 60%. Now this is basically where the truck is, or how much force the truck is using on the variable geometry side of things. This is 60 to 85%. Now, what these tables do, if you have 60 in one and 85 in the other, they blend or interpolate between the two. What that means is if you will put a point at 60 and a point at 85 and you were right in the center of it, it would put a dot right between those two numbers, whatever that number would be, it would split it right down the middle. It is going to, depending on your tune, this is a stock tune, change and do different sounds. So we're just gonna, I'm gonna just for fun grab this whole area even up to 100, and then I'm gonna go to this table up here, I'm gonna hit 0, we're gonna hit equals, and now you can see all of those are 0 in that area. So it is gonna be a 0% on the variable Vane, and this is gonna give us a rumble tune. So let's go ahead and shut the truck off and flash this new tune-up in. So as this flashes, we're gonna see just how different the sound can be. And like I said, this is gonna be a rumble tune. This is what tuners will call a rumble tune, and this is what's gonna be your typical, pretty close to a rumble tune setup. Now, you can achieve a rumble tune without being all the way to 0. I think I've gotten it done with around 15 to 25%. And you know, it varies from how much timing I have, how much fuel, that sort of thing, and basically how the fuel is delivered. But that's a whole different story, and it's a lot more complicated, and I don't want to get into that. I'm just trying to show you guys, kind of keep it simple on how this is done, yet be informative enough so you have a good understanding of what's going on. Now, the number one question I always get is, why does your truck sound like that? What is going on? It sounds like an airplane, it's crazy. And it's very simple. Like I explained earlier, guys, it's strictly just the variable geometry part of the turbo, and it is really cool that we even have the capability to do that. Now, the first of this technology I think came out in around, for Ford at least, was on the 6-liter Power Strokes or International engines, and that was in what, 2003, 2002 and a half, or 2003, I believe, is when the 6.0 came out, and that's when they were one of the first that I know of diesels to have a variable geometry style turbo on them from the factory, and they were pretty good, but they don't hold a candle to these newer 6.7 variable geometry turbos. They're a lot more advanced and a lot more efficient, along with being, these are pretty big turbos from the factory. So we just finished our tune-up, so you'll see here, it'll kick the screen back on. There we go. We're gonna go ahead, let it do its cleanup. It's all good. Now we're gonna go ahead and fire the truck back up and go outside and listen to this new exhaust tone that we got. As you guys can see, the truck no longer has a nasty hiss to it. It doesn't sound like a jet engine. It doesn't sound like an airplane taking off. It just sounds kind of like a stock truck, or I should say a truck that's not turboed. Now, this is what your truck would pretty much sound like if you had a non-variable geometry turbo on it. So a fixed vane turbo, as we like to call it, would sound very similar to this. Sometimes even on those, they would have a little more of a deadened type sound because the blades have a little more aggression to them compared to this. Because it has the vane assist on it, they can go with a less aggressive vane, and that allows them to get a little more air by and, you know, just kind of open up. When you go to a fixed vane, you can actually flow more air by typically because we don't have these impellers blocking and doing all this. So I wanted to show you guys what it sounds like, and just for fun, we're gonna go ahead and load a tune-up that's kind of in between. I think it's around like 25%. I might go right around there, maybe 30, and we'll see what that looks like. So let's load that, and then I'll show you guys what it sounds like. All right, our tune completed. We're gonna close that. You can see I set it to 28%, and now we're gonna fire it up and go outside and see what it sounds like. So as you guys can see there at the end, it was at 28%, and then you heard the switch and it went to 78%. And I did that specifically because these trucks tend to switch between modes depending on how you have them set up, but I wanted to have a clear as day comparison of the two for you guys, so you could hear it from one to the next and basically do it live while the truck was still running. So you heard it there. I think it sounds pretty cool. You go from that rumbly, throaty type tune to all of a sudden you get that jet engine, that real hissy whistling type. It's not even really whistling, it's more of a hissing, and that's the air, you know, running by the variable geometry blades, going directly onto that turbine to help spin that turbo. So I think it sounds pretty cool. Comment down below what you guys think. Also, if you're new to this channel, comment down below what you want to see and give this video a big fat thumbs up if you liked this video. I love doing these styles of video for you guys. I love doing educational. I love showing you what's going on, teaching you. So, you know, guys like myself, I love to understand what the truck is doing, why it's doing it, and kind of how it's doing it. So like I said, I love making them. Let me know if you want to see something you have in mind. I may just do that video. And if you're new to the channel, feel free to hit that subscribe button, because of course we're going to be doing new videos. But it's time for you guys to get the heck out of here.